we got to talk about these big displacement diesels that are coming. Now, real quickly, if you didn't watch the video I did before this one, which was yesterday, you might want to pause this video, go watch that video, come back and watch this video, because I'm kind of tying these videos in together, okay? So with that being said, we are getting bigger displacement diesels for the Ram, Cummins, GM Duramax for the HD segment, and the Ford PowerStroke. But what does this all mean? I will explain that first before we get into it. I also want to discuss some of the information that we know so far about these bigger displacement diesels. And then lastly, I want to give you guys my perspective on what I'm hoping to see from the manufacturers, basically. So yes, there are more stringent emissions coming. Let's talk about that first really quickly. We won't harp on it, but we'll just talk about it really quickly and then we'll jump into the video. Now, I did show a little bit more in the last video that I did, but this is essentially what they're trying to do, okay? So the adopted rule is a federal counterpart of the California Omnibus. They always affect us, right? Always. Low NOx regulation that introduces an FTP NOx limit of 0.02 grams per brake horsepower an hour, effective 2027. The EPA proposal included two options for the NOx program. The more stringent option one included a 0.035 grams per brake horsepower of nitrous oxide standard from 2027, followed by a 0.02 grams per brake horsepower an hour standard from 2031. The less stringent option 2 was a one-step approach with NOx standard of 0.050 grams per brake horsepower an hour in 2027. Are you confused? You should be, because this is a Democratic push. And what I've learned from them is I never understand what they're trying to do. California dubbed this the Omnibus. The Biden administration back in 2022 decided this was a good idea. They dubbed this Clean Trucks Plan. Now, I'm pretty sure they don't have a plan. And I'm pretty sure as long as this pisses off truck owners, they've achieved the goal. So that's all I'm going to say. And hopefully Lee Zeldin will do something about it, because this does mean stricter emissions coming to you really soon, all you new truck owners. I'm not buying no trucks in the future. This is probably going to be the last one I buy. That's why it looks so darn good. But regardless, let's go ahead and read this article from Send It Race Media channel on Facebook. I don't have Facebook, unfortunately, but I'm able to read this. So I want you guys to see some of the stuff that they have put in here, and then we're going to discuss it here. I might have to steal this thumbnail, but I won't do that because I'm actually stealing some of the stuff they wrote here. So this is back in December 14th of 2025. And it says here, why the big three are all upsizing diesel at the same time. So because of the emission standards that are going to be coming, you now understand why. If you've been paying attention, Ford, GM, and Ram all seem to be hinting at the same thing lately. Big diesel engines. That's not a coincidence. Here's where each brand stands right now. So Ford obviously has a 6.7 PowerStroke, and the industry chatter points toward a future large displacement PowerStroke 8-liter potentially for next gen Super Duty, medium duty applications, and the goal is more torque with less cylinder pressure to meet emissions and durability demands. Ram with the Cummins is currently the 6.7 inline 6 design. Cummins has officially announced a new 7.2 liter diesel known as the B7.2 for medium duty and vocational use starting around 2027. Not confirmed for pickups yet, but it shows Cummins is moving up in displacement. Now, we've heard about the Megamax. You guys know that GM has a 6.6 liter Duramax V8. Now they're saying rumors and testing point to a possible larger Duramax 8.3 liter. I did a video on this a couple years ago, I believe, for future HD trucks. So why bigger engines instead of more boost? Lower cylinder pressures, easier emission compliance, less stress on parts, better longevity, more torque without pushing extreme boost or fuel pressure. Old school displacement solving modern emission problems. The diesel arms race isn't about peak torque numbers anymore. It's about making a big power survive emissions, reliability, and real world towing. Now here's a fun fact. The Dodge Ram started this horsepower and torque wars with the diesel engine. Remember, back in 1989, they came out with that 5.9 liter Cummins. And when I tell you that they rocked the truck world, that is what they did. Came in absolutely swinging. Now remember, it only had 160 horsepower, but it had 400 pound-feet of torque thanks to its turbocharged diesel. At that time, Ford and GM only had naturally aspirated diesels. Now, you know Ford has to always respond. They always got to come in swinging, and swinging they did back in 1994 and a half. They had their 7.3 Power Stroke, which was probably arguably one of the best diesels in the segment. Had 210 horsepower and 425 pound-feet of torque. Take that, Ram. Now, where's GM in all of this? This is from 89 to 2001. You see the 6.6 liter Duramax come up on the scene. And they come in with 300 horsepower and 520 pound-feet of torque. Now, at that time, Ram had 245 horsepower and 505 pound-feet of torque, and the PowerStroke had 235 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. So Ram has always tried to stay just slightly ahead of the competition. Right around the emissions years, figure 2011, 2012, you really start to see these engines just go crazy with the torque. Back in 2011, the 6.6 liter Duramax, known as the LML, had 397 horsepower, 765 pound-feet of torque. The PowerStroke had 400 horsepower and 800 pound-feet of torque. That is insane. And of course, the Cummins, again, they got to be a little ahead with they torque. They had 385 horsepower and 850 pound-feet of torque. And remember, the 2011 model year, I think, was the first year of the 6.7 too, for the Ford PowerStroke, okay? Now, fast forward to 2019, because this is when Ram decided to come into the house and just scare everybody again. They basically did back in 1989 what they did in 2019. They crossed over that 1,000 pound-feet of torque. They said, we're gonna hit that number. And they had 400 horsepower, 1,000 pound-feet of torque. And of course, Ford responded in 2020 with 475 horsepower and 1,050 pound-feet of torque, which is just, even to this day, is insanity when you think about those numbers. And then as of right now, even to this day, from 2023 till now, Ford is king of the diesels because they have 500 horsepower. No one's gotten close to that number yet, although Duramax could have gotten there. They just got scared. And 1,200 pound-feet of torque. That engine is pretty much maxed out. It gotta be. I hope it is, because yeah, there's only so much boost you can do. There's only so much of a turbocharger you can get in there before you start to have drivability issues, right? So that is pretty much where we are right now. We are literally going to see a whole new type of fight, I guess you can call it. The fight of the diesels. And with the bigger displacements, it does allow these engines to probably be a little bit more efficient, right? When you keep adding more horsepower and torque in a smaller displacement engine, at some point, you're going to have issues. So I think, just like in that last article that we read, the biggest thing that you want with the larger displacement is less cylinder pressure, right? So in doing so, having a larger displacement engine does lower that pressure. So now they're able to get more out of the engines without having to add more boost. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are thinking, you want to see better reliability with these diesels. And I agree with you. That would be really nice. However, before we go there, here's what I'll tell you guys. I think that the big three should get together and have an honest conversation with Congress and really be honest about what we already know, but they're not doing, right? Everyone knows that if you want better emissions out of that tailpipe, it all starts with tuning, piston design, and a few of the things that we already know But for whatever reason, they don't want to talk about that because, like I've always told you guys, they don't want us to drive these big trucks. These big trucks create a certain type of man that they don't want anymore. Just saying. Just saying. So, yes, I would like to see also when they get with Congress talking about better diesel fuel. Something that has a longer life expectancy, that doesn't oxidize. That way, when these trucks, are sitting for months and months at a time, you don't have to necessarily run out all the diesel fuel to get out B20 or B5, which is biodiesel. And I would like to see a good diesel number 2 with a higher sulfur parts per million count. I would love to see better lubricity from diesel number 2. I think that if they were to raise the cetane number, obviously, and then of course give us more of that lubricity back, they probably could do all that and still have lower emissions coming out of that tailpipe with the crap that's already on these trucks. And in some cases, I would like to see them even add in to where you can do a cleaning solution for the EGR system. I mean, I want to say, was it the meth injection? Is it meth injection something that if they were to have like a spray for that inside the engine, couldn't that cool it, but on top of that, clean out the soot and all that crap out of the engine because it's hot and you're spraying a cooler? I forget how they explain it, but there's a company out there that sells a meth injection kit that you can put in your truck after market. But I think the manufacturers could do something better for these upcoming diesel engines to make them more reliable. But let's see if they really do something that really help the consumer, because that's what I'm really after. And that's kind of why you guys see this really beautiful truck here. I built this thing nicely. Next week, we're getting it lifted with McGaughy's. Be sure to check out their website down below, McGaughy's.com. Check them out. They got some good lifts, guys. And on top of that, that's all I got. Obviously, I like the inline 6 design. If Duramax and PowerStroke were to keep a V8 and then add a inline 6 to see which one sells the best, I'm willing to bet you guys people don't care about speed as much as you think. Just saying. But be sure to let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to share it if you thought it was helpful. See you guys soon.